It is my current goal to beat the game of Pokemon Yellow every single week in a solo challenge using all 151 Pokemon available within the Pokedex. But you will notice that today we're looking at something very different on our screens. We are in fact looking at Pokemon Crystal, our very first time playing the second generation in long form content. If you haven't seen it, I am doing some shorts right now where I'm doing a thing where every solo challenge that I do for the short form is based off of how many subscribers that I have on this channel. So if you're not already subscribed, check that out. You can add on to the Pokedex entry every single week. So there you go. But today we are taking a look at Crystal because we are actually going to do a little 3-week special here. First things first, let me just go ahead and get this part out of the way and just say that MURkrow, honestly, incredible Pokemon. It sounds weird, maybe, I don't know. I don't know if you've ever used this Pokemon before. I was never really a MURkrow user. I think I've used it for some Nuzlockes here and there, but it turns out that within Pokemon Crystal, this was a really enjoyable run for me, and I cannot wait to dive into this. However, let me tell you about this mini-series, and then we'll go over the moveset and everything like that. So the mini-series that we've got going on, I originally was like, I'm going to try and go through this whole Pokedex as in order as humanly possible. And then I realized that sometimes I had to make some concessions because of things like going on vacation and needing to do an easier run to prepare for that. And then obviously, like, we had a holiday with Halloween, and I thought, let's go with a theme for that month. So then I decided, okay, let's do a theme for this month too, because in America, we have a holiday in the month of November that is called Thanksgiving. And for me, the holiday season begins on Thanksgiving and goes through the end of the year, I guess technically the start of the new year. And it's just something that I truly, truly love. I love my family. I love spending time with my family. There's also great food. The music is great. I know some people don't like Christmas music. I really enjoy it. And I think part of it is because it's all kind of folded into one another, right? But I just really love Thanksgiving so much. And I'm so looking forward to Thanksgiving dinner. I think that some people don't like turkey because they don't know how to make a good turkey. But let me tell you, I love turkey. Also, real fast, just want to make a quick note that today's rival is Az, my friend Az. I don't think I've named my rival after Az before, but I'm naming this rival after Az because I'm very thankful for them and their friendship. You should check out Cals_Calzones on Twitch and also here on YouTube. They make a lot of really great content. Love them very much. Anyway, so with turkey, one of the big things for me is like with Thanksgiving dinner, there's something that some Americans do that I have never done, but I'm really jealous of the people who have. And that is they make this sort of Frankenstein conglomerate chimera dinner monstrosity, but it sounds so good. And it's called a Turducken. And it's turkey, duck, and chicken. It's a chicken inside of a duck, inside of a turkey. And then you cut in, and then you've got 3 meats. So we are starting a 3-week mini-series called the Murducken. And we will be seeing 3 separate birds and doing solo challenges with those 3 separate birds. Along with MURkrow and 99 other brand new Pokemon added to the Pokedex in Generation 2, something else that got added to the game was 2 new typings, the Steel type and the Dark type. Now, MURkrow is one of the only Dark-type Pokemon that is in existence within this generation. In this generation, you added Umbreon, MURkrow, Houndour, Houndoom, Sneasel, and Tyranitar. So only 6 Pokemon there, but this is a Dark Flying type. And I think it's very cool that for our first run-through within Johto, not only are we seeing a brand new Pokemon, but we are also seeing a brand new type on this channel, all in one run. And that is a pretty neat little feature of this little mini-series. But looking at this bird and what it can handle, what it can do, at 405 base stat total, we've, kind of entered into a realm alongside a lot of the middle evolution Pokemon, Quilava, Haunter, Combuskin, Charmeleon, Croconaw. These are all Pokemon that are all within the same range. There's obviously many more, but also other Pokemon that are the final evolution, So like Parasect, for example, or Dugtrio. So we're kind of in like a medium middle ground, I would say, on our stats. But then also MURkrow has some really interesting type coverage. So obviously it has some flying types. Weirdly though, the only flying type move that it learns naturally is Peck, which is not very strong. So that is a little bit of a disappointment. It would have been great if this Pokemon could learn Wing Attack. If we learned Wing Attack, I think this would have been an even faster run than what we've got. But it does also learn Pursuit and Feint Attack within its dark type moves. So honestly, it's like natural learning move pool here is really not huge. It's not great. Nightshade is fine. It's serviceable, but it does get access to some really interesting type coverage here. It can learn Shadow Ball for ghost moves. It can learn Mud Slap that we get here from this very first gym. We have already taken down the bird trainer, so I'm already kind of showing him up a little bit with my own bird. But then we also have moves like Thief, which is also not necessarily that strong, but has some interesting kind of background features. Then you have Steel Wing, something that I really would have loved to have seen myself use in this run, but I actually did not, unfortunately. But it is a 70 power move, 90% accuracy, pretty cool. And since it is the other type that was added in this generation, that's probably the only reason that I would kind of want to use it. But like I said, it's not necessary because we do have 2 more moves that are actually going to be pretty insane to have access to and to be able to use in this generation. The first of which is Icy Wind. Feels very strange to me that a dark flying type Pokemon has access to this ice move, but honestly, I'm not going to complain. It's going to come in absolutely clutch when we get to the dragon type Pokemon within this game, both the final gym leader and of course Lance. How could you forget Lance? You know him, you love him, or maybe you hate him. He's back and better than ever. But Icy Wind is going to really help us kind of push right through them pretty quickly. Now, the other move that we get access to in this generation is a move called Hidden Power. And Hidden Power is a pretty awesome move, especially in like generations 2 through probably like 4. I don't really remember using it that much in 5 or 6, but I didn't play those games over and over again the way that I did the first few. So, you know, that's maybe take that with a grain of salt, right? But basically the way that that move works is it is used as a normal type move. It shows up rather as a normal type move. However, the actual typing that the move uses is based on your IVs. So in this particular situation, we have made sure to, you know, get the best possible IVs that we can for this Pokemon. And we have specifically set it to the levels that get you a ground type move. The ground type coverage is going to be pretty huge for this Pokemon. It's going to be great against the new steel type. It's also going to be really great against all of the poison type Pokemon because unfortunately, Team Rocket somehow returned. You did just see us go up against them in the Slowpoke. Well, that was them. Yep, they're back. Anyway, we're also going to obviously then eventually get the move Fly, and that'll be the last thing for our learn set. And this bird has no problem with bugs, obviously, as it is both super effective against them, and you can see that we just flew through Bugsy. So that is 2 badges already under our belt, and we are feeling good. Now, it could be not as good if you had a different Pokemon going up against the rival here. Luckily, this rival, although he gets bad and basically worse as the game goes on, and there's a reason for that, but the big thing is that this team right here can be dreadful for solo challenges. If you don't have a response to Ghastly, you're in trouble. However, we have an answer for sure because we have a dark type Pokemon, and so he is also not an issue. Up next is Goldenrod City, which might actually be my favorite city in this generation. I don't know why that is. I really like the music for here, and there's just something about the whole vibe about the city that I just really kind of like. Maybe it's because there's a radio tower, and I do weirdly, okay, I don't listen to the radio, but as a podcaster and like a broadcast person, someone who has worked in broadcast, maybe that's the secret. Maybe that kind of put the inkling in my brain back when I was, like 10 years old to get involved in that. But I digress. We are here in Goldenrod City and we are at the gym. At this gym, it is a normal type gym, which was kind of shocking, I felt like, as a young kid. Back then, I didn't have a true appreciation for normal type Pokemon. I didn't really get it. I do now. But this might have been what started that, right? Because Whitney was maybe, back then at the very least, the hardest gym leader. She has a Miltank with rollout, and that can obviously compound damage so fast and just wreck a full team. So imagine a flying type Pokemon, something that is weak to that move. Oh God. Okay, well, luckily Pursuit does more than half of the critical hit, and then I get another critical hit. I can't believe it. That had to have been nothing but luck, because that probably should not have happened. It probably should not have been a first try, but it was. And you know what? I'll take that any day of the week. Now, after you make your way up Route 35 and 36, you get to Ecruteak City, another city that I actually also really love. I'll be honest, I'm probably going to say that about a lot of the stuff in this game. The first 3 generations really hold a very special place in my heart. But here we go up against our rival again within the Burnt Tower. And one of the big things here is that it's going to be very similar to the second one, which is if you don't yet have a response to ghost type Pokemon, you really have to get one, because this is the precursor to that 4th gym, which is also ghost type. So you're going to need to make sure that you are ready to go for him if you're going to be ready to go for Morty. Now, after you get through that fight, you then fall through the hole. You see the 3 dogs, and Suicune's like, hey, actually, wait. No, never mind. Thought I saw something in you for a second there, big dog, but nah. Now, after this, I am poisoned, so I'm going to have to go heal up. But then I do something that I don't necessarily know if this is the order that other people do it in. I like to do it in this order, but I also don't always follow this rule. I guess it just sort of depends on how you're feeling about your run. But here's where I go up against the Kimono girls. Now, I'm not going to show this every single time I play this game, unless maybe one of them in particular gives me a really hard time. But the Kimono girls, Kimono sisters, Kimono twins. Well, it's definitely not twins. There's more than 2. So the Kimono girls, they all have an evolution, and this is their introduction to you to the new ones that have added on into this game. Umbreon, one that we mentioned earlier, and Espeon. And at the end of the day, you're going to have to do this section at least at some point in the game, because you need it to move on, because after you beat them, there's a gentleman in the audience who's just been sort of egging you on the whole time, and then he gives you the HM for Surf afterwards. It's very weird. It's like a weird energy. He's out there and he's watching them all the time, but then he's like, oh, they're so beautiful, but they're also incredible Pokemon trainers. Sir, you have to settle down. I don't get your energy, and I don't care for it. But thanks for the HM. So after you do that, you can then go on to the gym here, and let me tell you, MURkrow absolutely destroys this gym. Between Feint Attack and Pursuit, we are just crushing everything left and right. Nightshade can come in handy if we kind of run out of PP on anything, but we shouldn't. Everything should be one-shotting, and we're going to save our best moves if possible for the gym leader himself. But as you can see, we are outspeeding and outgunning at every turn, and it feels so good. I never knew MURkrow was this good. I've been flabbergasted. I think maybe might be the word. I've been perplexed as to how I could have been lied to this whole time into thinking that MURkrow was just kind of mid. And I don't know, to some extent, probably is, right? Same stats as Doug Trio, but at the end of the day, look at this bird. It's hitting as hard as a Doug Trio. It's kind of cool. Now, up against Morty, it's the same thing as the rest of his gym. Feint Attack is all you need. Super effective. 1, 2, 3, and wait for it, 4. I was a little too fast on that. But that's 4 hits. That is 4 Pokemon. That is 4 drops. And that is a 4th badge. I like the fog badge look too. Look at how cool that is up in the top left. Now, while you do have some options as to which direction you go and which order you do the next 3 gyms in, the one that makes the most amount of sense is to head to the west after Ecruteak City, and then you'll find at the next city, Olivine City, there is a gym, but that is quote-unquote the 6th badge. You then find that you can't fight her because there's a sick Ampharos at the lighthouse. So then you surf across the ocean, kind of southwest, down to Cyanwood Town, Cyanwood. Not really sure which of the two it is, I'll be honest. I've always said Cyanwood or Cyanwood. Like, that's a weird inflection, actually. Now that I'm saying this all out loud, it feels kind of crazy to say. Anyway, you do need to make sure that you pick up strength in Olivine City. Just go to the cafe, talk to the guy who'll be like, you look strong. Take this. All right, sir. Thanks, I guess. Then after that, you take your Pokemon down to this gym, like I said, because one of the big things is that you do have to come to this little island in order to get a special potion for that Ampharos. And while you're here, you'll find that if you just go through this gym and beat Chuck and his team and all of his little lackeys, you will then get access to the move Fly. So then you can fly back to give the potion even faster. Isn't that just kind of neat and handy how they line you up like that? They bring you down here anyway, might as well just get the badge while you're here. And MURkrow heard that and said, okay, bet. And basically just does the dang thing. Despite getting hit by a dynamic punch, which, okay, but, you know, we get the double peck off, and there you have it. That is a 5th badge. Now we can pick up Fly, like I said, and then we can fly back to Olivine City, give that secret potion, and then heal the lighthouse Ampharos so that we can now go on to the 6th gym. Or, well, technically we would, but we had a little problem. Obviously, we didn't have an answer for the 6th gym, so we've made our way towards the 7th gym. I've already picked up Hidden Power, went through the entire Team Rocket thing. I also do have a reset that I actually meant to take off. That was more about a clerical error versus an actual reset. Basically, earlier when I was talking up the fact that Hidden Power was going to use my IVs, and that was going to give me the correct move, I did do it wrong, unfortunately, and I gave myself the Dark Hidden type, and I certainly don't need that for a Dark Pokemon, so I had to close the game out, fix the little file, and then when I came back in, it gave me a reset. It took me a while to realize it, and so I just sort of left it, but, you know, we should still be at 0. Currently, we're at 0, -1 from where we are now. And I also think that this is one of those things where because I was here, I figured might as well go up against Price and just sort of see what happens. This is so dangerous, and I got so lucky that he missed because I was so weak, so fragile in this one moment. A bird could have easily been taken out by the ice, but instead, we get the W, and we add Icy Wind to MURkrow's move pool. I don't know how well that's being picked up. I did just get some room tone there for a moment. I mean, every fire ambulance and cop car in the city apparently is driving down the road next to me. Kind of insane. Anyway, now we are up at Jasmine's gym. We are now back to the 6th gym here in Olivine, and now I have a response for everything. And wham bam, thank you, ma'am. We have the 7th bet with the 6th, but 7th. You get what I'm saying. Okay, well, after that little section, we then have a very long chunk of time that's going to be skipped. About 15 minutes to go all the way back to Goldenrod City and go through the entirety of the Team Rocket thing. And I swear I'm going like so fast during that section, and taking 15 minutes to go against a thing that like plot-wise is just sort of kind of meh. But then also just the fact that none of those Pokemon are really all that good. So there's not really a lot of good experience that you get for your Pokemon by doing any of those quests or sideline or whatever you want to call that section of the game, it is a little unfortunate. But it does mean that once we are done with that, we have made our way to Blackthorn City and have gotten our first reset. Wow. It's our, you got the spiel earlier. So now we are just trying to do our best with the Icy Wind. One of the big things here is that Icy Wind is going to take care of all 3 Dragonairs. That part, not in question. Now, the Kingdra is tougher because it is also part water, so it is going to resist us. So it's a little unclear at first, but eventually, obviously, stab is always a good thing to go for. Same type attack bonus? Yeah, I'll take that. That is then a win. However, you cannot get the 8th badge until you go over to the Dragon's Den and you have to go use Whirlpool and all this other stuff. Part of it, I think, is just to make sure that you know that that move exists and that you're going to use it and that you need it on your team. Therefore, most people needing to carry 2 separate water Pokemon, even if it's just temporarily, it's obnoxious. Hey, you know what? I will say that part, kind of annoying. I am a big fan now of how some of the more recent games have added basically like moves just that can work as an HM effectively. You know, you can use Surf or Bubble Beam or any water type move against certain things, etc., etc. Or, you know, also the concept that is in Let's Go Pikachu / Let's Go Eevee and also Scarlet and Violet, where you just have a Pokemon who has this sort of at the back of their mind, they know, hey, I know how to glide now. I can climb a rock. I can use a bike with a bunch of balloons attached to it. I don't get Let's Go Pikachu sometimes. Anyway, here is a very interesting section. I'm not going to showcase this every time either, but it is an interesting part of the game, and for the first run through, kind of interesting to show. You have to answer some questions. There's a little questionnaire after, you know, your customer service sort of thing. You give them some stars, they tell you something. But basically, it's the annoying thing about this game is that there are 3 female gym leaders, 2 of which basically cry or throw a hissy fit if you win. And it's kind of like, hey, we could do better. But speaking of doing better, first of all, this is a cool little moment. I do still to this day love the part where when you first swim or surf rather to the east and you land on the shore of Kanto and they're like, hey, you're in Kanto now, check out the map. And it blows your mind that now you also get to explore Kanto again. It's also there. Whoa, isn't that so cool? So vast, so special, so big. But speaking of better, we can make our way to the Elite Four through Victory Road. But first, there is one final obstacle, and that is the last iteration of your rival for this generation. Now, I mentioned earlier that he gets worse as the game goes on, and it's because of a really interesting and cool storytelling thing. There was another feature of this particular generation, which is evolution based off of friendship level, and you will notice that he has 3 Pokemon that would require friendship in order to evolve. And then on top of that, you also have a different type of friendship involved, and that is that Haunter and Kadabra remain unevolved because he does not have friends to trade them with, and trading is the only way to evolve them in these games. Now, I'm sure that like behind the scenes, like the NPCs don't really necessarily have to do that, but to me, it's just such a good storytelling moment to go, yeah, like he's got Pokemon, but he really has not gotten the message that he has been given about how he treats Pokemon and how it affects his ability as a trainer. And my ability as a trainer is so strong that just MURkrow and I have made it here to the Elite Four. The HM employees have been put in the box. It's just the 2 of us. And here we go up against Will. He's a psychic type trainer. So obviously, just like we've seen in some previous things, like against the Ghost Gym, Feint Attack, our dark type move, is all we truly need at the end of the day. Then we see a familiar face. It's Koga. Oh my gosh. But I wonder what that's going to mean for Fuchsia City. We won't see today. I'm not going to do the red section of the game, but rest assured, Fuchsia City Gym is in good hands. Now, speaking of good hands, Allstate, or I don't know who says that. I don't remember who that is. I'm not sponsored by them. But we just took out Fortress. That's actually pretty huge. Fortress can be a pain in the butt, in my opinion, but luckily with enough little chipping away at him, he does go down. Evasion going up for Crobat is not a great sight when he also hits me pretty hard, actually. But luckily, eventually, by just bashing our way through, we get an Icy Wind off and he goes down. With 23 health, Venomoth falls, and we are still in the mix. Still no resets against the Elite Four, so that is a good sign. Now, after we do a little bit of healing, I'm going to use up a rare candy there, and we're going to go up against yet another familiar face. Oh my gosh, look everyone, it's Bruno. Everyone point and laugh at Bruno. Now, he on this team has one key difference. Instead of the opening Onyx, he now has a Hitmontop, which is a Pokemon that was added in for this generation. It is a thing where they added in a baby Pokemon, Tyrogue, that can then, kind of like Eevee, has a split evolution, and one of three things then gets him to each of these Pokemon. One is a higher attack than defense, the other one is a higher defense than attack, and then Hitmontop, because it's right in the middle and brand new, harder to dictate. They say if it's even, you get him. And speaking of even, we are even with the universe once more, as we have kicked the butt of Bruno. And after healing, it is on to the fourth trainer, Karen. And Karen starts off with an Umbreon. This is yet again a classic moment in which the game goes, hey, by the way, did you know Eevee has a new split evolution? And it's always a resounding yes. Thanks. Now, we've already defeated our counterpart, the imposter Murkrow, and then we did just have a Houndoom on the screen, which is really cool. That's one of the only other dark types that was introduced within this generation, and Houndoom is just such a cool design. But at the end of the day, we had answers for everyone else because we already have answers for ourselves. We know what we are weak against. Therefore, turn it around, use it against them. And that gets us the W, which means we get to move on to the champion. And that champion is Lance. Yes, dude. First of all, love Lance, love his whole steez. But also, he's now got 6 Pokemon, 3 full Dragonites, and a Charizard. Very different. Now, the Gyarados and the Aerodactyl do remain, and they're both strong and fast. Or one is very strong, one's very fast, but, you know, it's the components are both there. And because of that speed, we unfortunately take our next reset. And you're also going to notice that suddenly the time is going much faster. So that must mean that it happens again, and again, and again. And it sure does. Because, of course, this is some of the similarities, some flashbacks to Pokemon Yellow, right? Gyarados and Aerodactyl both cause specific types of problems, but then also so does Charizard, actually. Charizard, because it is also a fire type, means that it has the resistances to the main move that is supposed to carry me throughout most of this. Also, seeing a burn is devastating, cuts my attack in half. You don't want to see that. And of course, I'm taking chip damage. So not great. So we have to keep kind of coming back and back and back and keep trying different iterations, and also hoping that we're getting the best possible rolls, because there are moments in which they will miss. They'll get some sort of move that does not have 100% accuracy, and they'll use that against me, and I need mine to hit instead on the flip side of that, right? So we have a lot of kind of give and take, but the most of it being that I really give it to him whenever the Dragonites are out. And I really take a beating, usually when it's Aerodactyl, though frequently also Charizard. So like I said, it's 50-50. Great relationship that we have. You know, we'd be great partners in this world. Maybe the next double fighting team. I don't know how that really works or what you would call those people. But the next duo. Yippee. Now, we get here to this run. And this one's a bummer because this is maybe the closest one. If my memory is correct at watching this even at 4 times speed, I believe that we had never made it to the final Dragonite. And this time we did. It's the final dragon. Beep 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 beep. It's a Murkrow. Okay, Murkrow. Here we go. Starts off with Fly because, again, the water typing, not really perfect with an ice move. But then we get Dragonite ×2. And of course, they are 4 times weak to the Icy Wind. Aerodactyl is also weak to Icy Wind. Ooh. Okay, we're at the Charizard. You got to think about it for a moment. Yes, it does also have a flying type, but of course, it's just going to be neutral. But this time we get through with more health, but it also doesn't matter because we one-shot the final Dragonite this time around. We have made it, ladies and gentlemen. That is a good first run. We're going to call it 127. The timer keeps going because it thinks you're going to go up against red. But 127 for a Pokemon I'm very unfamiliar with in a game that I really have not played for a while. Yes, I've played a bunch throughout the years, but still, that doesn't mean I'm going to be great at it. So this was pretty solid. Can't wait to see what else we can do in this game. What kind of damage we can get into. Really stoked. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us for the first portion of our Turducken Murducken show or series or whatever we're calling that. And thank you so much for viewing. If you've made it this far and you've enjoyed it and you're not already, please, I would love a subscription. Trying to make it to 500 by the end of the year. And it also helps with my short form content because, like I said, it adds on to the Pokedex entry. So thank you so much for watching this episode, and I will catch you all next week for another solo challenge in Murducken.